you must be writing the right shit on your profile. Your content must roughly be about the right stuff. And if you're doing outreach, the messages must be roughly good enough to get people booked onto calls. If we can set a base there, then when we go from 5,000 to 10,000, we're actually increasing the amount of money the business is making because this content generates leads. But if you're getting 10,000 reach a week and you're not generating any leads, you're not making any money, increasing your reach is not going to solve your problem anymore because 10,000 is more than enough for one human to say, hey, I need some help.
Welcome to episode 15 of LinkedIn Marketing Mastery, Revenue Generating Activities. Excited to talk to Ethan about this subject. And Dana, you want to give us a bit of an intro?
I like to say that to me, Ethan is a definition of a self-made man. This is someone who started from corporate. Oh, yes, I'm starting with the cliches, Ethan, yeah. Started from corporate, went on to flipping trainers on eBay for 10 quid profit, and is currently running a multi-six-figure business on his own. So, Ethan, can you please tell us what will our listeners get at the end of this podcast?
Can I challenge your definition a little bit first?
Yes, absolutely.
While I am running my own business, and the thing is, I've particularly seen this over the last 6 months since I've started working with you and Charlie and growing the team, etc. Like, the idea that I'm doing everything on my own is actually kind of a dumb one. Isn't true, first and foremost, because I haven't done everything on my own. And actually, the better I've got at not doing things on my own, like the last 6 months has been unimaginable compared to the previous 4.5 years. So like, I'm not really self-made. My mum set me up good. Like, we didn't have money, but she really valued education. She got me studying from young. So she sent me to a really, really good school. You had to take a test to get into. So to some extent, I'm self-made, but to some extent, I got a little bit of a leg up. I got an education most people don't get to have. While I was building my business, I was at my nan's house. So I was paying rent. I was contributing, but I wasn't paying like big boy London rent. I wasn't paying like 1.5, 2K a month like some other people were. So did I have struggles to go through? Sure. Was I entirely self-made? No, because I have my family to depend on. And now over the last 6 months, we've gone from 10 to 42,000, or in USD, I think it's like 50,000. That growth has been amazing. And it's come from a lot of the work that I've done over the last 4.5 years, but it's because of you, and it's because of Charlie, and it's because of Harvey, and it's because of Shin, and it's because of Josh and Brian and the things that they've taught me. So I might be like a focal point for putting some stuff together, but like 100% not self-made. And I also don't want to be self-made. I'd rather build things with other people than just have done everything on my own, So there you go.
Yeah.
I forgot what the original question was there.
No, it's all right. It's all right. First of all, thank you for the humility. That's quite right to say, actually. But the initial question was, what will our listeners get by the end of this podcast?
I hope they'll get two things. I hope they'll get some insight on what that journey looked like, and maybe when you read a LinkedIn post like, broken another revenue record, or like Harvey just put out today, we've booked 30 sales calls a week for the last 3 weeks. Like, those numbers seem unimaginable to most people. They're unimaginable to me even like 3 months ago. Remember the first month I got like 15 leads. I was like, it blew my fucking mind. And now we're doing 30 a week. So I think when you see posts like that, sometimes you don't see the process of getting to that place. And so I think hopefully people will get two things. One, a bit of a realistic picture of, yes, things are going amazingly right now, but actually what it took to get to that place and how they weren't going amazing the whole time. And two, just the tactical stuff we've learned that are the reason that we're booking 30 sales calls a week right now, but the reason that our revenue is growing about 33% a month right now. And hopefully some people can take away some of that stuff and use it for themselves.
That'd be amazing. But you actually went somewhere where I wanted to lead you, but you went there yourself. Tell us a bit more about the story, because you're saying that you're not self-made. Tell us how it all started, how you grew up, and how it all led to where you are today.
Yeah. I guess it's difficult to pick a starting point. If I'm going to tell that typical, what was that first entrepreneurial thing you did as a kid that is the reason you are who you are today, my equivalent of that story is actually probably the same as so many other people's stories. In that
Lemonade stand?
It's not far off a lemonade stand. The UK equivalent of the lemonade stand is selling sweets in school. I feel like half the entrepreneurs I know sold sweets in school. So I was 9, and basically every day after primary school, I remember we'd come down this big ramp, but our parents would be waiting for us, and then we'd walk down to a corner shop that was like 5 minutes away. And everyone's parents would give them like 50p, £1, £2, and we would buy penny sweets at the time because the economy wasn't fucked. You used to be able to buy something for a penny and it was worth something. You can't do that anymore. But my mum would give me like 20p, but I'd never get like 50p, £1, £2 like all the other kids would. So I would get some sweets, but I wouldn't get the shit I wanted. Like, you didn't want the penny sweets, you wanted the Cadbury bar or something, but I didn't have enough money for that. And so every day I would ask my mum for money. And then one day, instead of taking me to the sweet shop, she took me to Tesco and she bought me a multi-pack of sweets. And she said, going to school next day, sell all the sweets to the other kids for like 5p, 10p, and then use all the money to go and buy some sweets after school. So my mum actually kicked the shit off. It wasn't me. And then I did that. I can't remember how much I made. It was probably like £4. But like that was crazy money for me at the time, right? And then I got about halfway through the day and the teacher had caught on to what I was doing. So she confiscated my sweets. She confiscated my money. And I didn't think too much of it, to be fair. I didn't care that much. I just went about my day. So I'm coming down the ramp in school. And my mum sees I don't have the sweet bags. And she's thinking, oh, damn, he sold the whole thing. Like, my son's going to be a fucking millionaire, right? And then I walk up to her and I say, nah, the teacher took all my shit. She's taking my money. And my mum grabs my hand. This ramp is like, it takes like 5 minutes to walk up, right? My school is on a big hill. My mum paces all the way up the hill, busts into the teacher's room, doesn't even ask any questions, just starts screaming and shouting, give my son his money, give him his sweets back, just starts kicking off. It's not the first time my mum's done that. She's a very peaceful woman, but when she feels I've been wronged, she fucking goes all out attack. So she got me my sweets back. She got my money back. That was the start and end of my first business. But yeah, that's the earliest memory I have of making some money for myself. Then if I skip between then and the first like clothes business I tried to start, it was just lots of that. Like I tried sweets again. Then I got other people to help me with the sweets thing at school when I was in secondary. I used to carry bottles of like water from, I used to take 2 IKEA bags, go to a local shop, fill it up with water and ice, walk to my local park and then start selling the bottles of water for 50p. Lots of little things like that. Like I had the desire to make money, but honestly, just because I couldn't get it from my mum, I couldn't get it from my family, and there's shit that I wanted. So I just tried to find little ways of making a little bit of cash. But I say the point this really started at was about 5 years ago when I saw some kid in my school. He was like selling clothes on this app called Depop, which is like eBay, but specifically for clothes. And I just remember thinking, I've wanted to start a business for ages. And this guy ain't that different from me. He's just some normal guy. But on Instagram, he's this dude that like sells money and it looks like he's doing shit, right? So I thought, I literally remember saying to my friend, if this guy can do it, we can definitely do it. So I just opened up a Depop app. I went on, I found the North Face jacket for like 25 quid. I sold it for like £28. I made like £1.50 profit. But like, oh shit, you can make money online. It's not that difficult. And then that was the process of me starting to like digitally try and make money. Did that for 2 years. Got up to like £1,000 profit a month. Like it was going okay. I was making some money, not a full-time job, but it was a nice little side hustle. And then I don't know how many people watching this know Gary Vee, but he talks about content all the time. And I kept seeing his videos come up, and he's really good for like an early stage entrepreneur. Somebody just needs to get themselves off the ground. And he kept saying, make content, make content, make content, make content. So one day I was like, fuck it, I'll start making some content. Did that for 9 months, made loads of content around my clothes and the stuff I was learning and just around the stuff I was doing.
I'm
And then
guessing
one
that
day,
wasn't on LinkedIn, was it?
no, this was back on Instagram, Instagram and TikTok. And then one day I did it for 9 months and it was sick. Like we started a podcast, I met loads of people. I started to learn that I liked content creation, but I made no money from it. I didn't know how to make money from it. And then one day a guy messaged me and he said, do you want to have a coffee chat? And I didn't know what a coffee chat was at the time. I was just some kid making Instagram posts. So I was like, all right, whatever. I literally turned up to the call. I was smoking a cigarette in my room. I did not think it was a business meeting at all. I thought some dude just wanted to talk to me. And then he was like, yeah, he's just raised like 2.5 mil for a start and he needs some content made. Do I want to do it? And I was like, maybe. I wasn't particularly interested in it. And he's like, how much do you want? I said, I don't know. I've never done it. How much are you going to give me? And he said, I'll give you $1,000 a month for making like X TikToks. And I literally remember I put the cigarette right the fuck down. And I was like, because I'm making £1,000 a month from selling clothes, jumpers, stone eye. Like I'm making £5 a flip. I'm finding the clothes, ordering them to my house, washing them, ironing them, photographing them, then putting them onto the listing, talking to the customers, dealing with all these problems, bagging them up, coming home from work, walking them down to the post office, shipping them off, dealing with returns. They're making like £5 each parcel. I was carrying like big bags every day after work, and I was probably making like £50 a trip. And this guy tells me, I just fuck around and make some TikToks and make £1,000. It's like 100. I'll start now. You just send me the money, fuck the contract. I'll do whatever you tell me to do for £1,000. And then that was how it started. That was like, oh, social media marketing is a thing. You can make money from it. And then it was just, I did TikToks, I did Instagram, I did some paid ad stuff, I did some influencer stuff, I did some LinkedIn stuff. And then pretty much about bang on 2 years ago, maybe just over 2 years now, I looked at everything I was doing. I was making about 5K-ish a month. And I was like, what's the one thing here that seems to be the easiest and I seem to be the best at and I'm getting the best results on, there's the least resistance to doing? And it was LinkedIn. And then that's when I started doubling down on just doing LinkedIn.
That's awesome. Let me just back up a little bit. But you were doing the clothes flipping but you were still working, right? It was a side hustle.
Yeah, I was doing a project management apprentice. So I went to uni for 3 months. I was doing an art foundation course. Everyone who went to my school was a doctor or a lawyer or a banker right now. They're all doing they all went to Oxford and Cambridge and all doing smart people shit. And I knew I wasn't built for that. So I went
And
the
earning
opposite.
less than you.
Well, not for some of them. I know Adi Doshis, these investment banker guys, they get like 80 grand the first year,
Oh
150
yeah.
the year. So now some of them are still doing way better than me. But give me 10 years, I'll catch them. But I went to art school for like 3 months. I dropped out of that. It was too far the other way. There wasn't enough like get shit done energy. So yeah, I was doing an apprenticeship. I was studying as a project manager. Kind of a funny story with it. So I was not very. I'm a very like when I came to Mexico the first time, my mate Kaz said, "Do you want to come to Mexico?" So I was like, "All right," and that was it. Basically, that was the whole conversation. He said he's going. I said, "Cool." Next day, I was in Mexico. So when I found this apprenticeship, it looked good. It looked like the best one I could get onto. I got the job, and I was like, "Cool." And I didn't think to check where it was because I just thought, whatever happens, I'll just make it work, right? I'd heard of Farnborough, so I thought it's close enough. I've been there a couple of times. It's actually 2 hours away from my house. Whether you drive or take train, it's 2 hours. So I was doing a job, but I was also traveling 4 hours a day. So on the train in
Right.
the morning, on the train on the way back, I was doing the clothes stuff on my phone. And then I would get home and then I would like photograph them, iron them, all that shit. So I
Right.
was doing a job, but that bit was the true like 18 months before I even hit 4-figure profit and doing that every day. That shit was a fucking grind. That was my like Rocky cutscene of, yeah, I don't know if a lot of
Yeah.
people get to that.
And at what point does this become a full-time thing?
When I finished my apprenticeship. So I was about to sign my contract. Basically, the whole time we're at the apprenticeship, you can exit level 2 or level 3. And so I said I want to exit level 4. That was my ambition for the 3 years. And I worked really, really fucking hard. I did so much extra stuff to try and get this level 4 because I think the difference was like 33 grand salary versus 38 grand salary. And I hustled for it. And then I got to the end and they were making the final decision. And two things happened. First, I started looking at like BMWs. I started looking at a nice little watch and a nice little suit. And I was going to become this corporate guy, right? Because I was quite good at project management. Like I'd done well for the apprenticeship. And then I started looking at finance and stuff. And I just clocked like, if I do this, I'm locked in. Like I've got to make a certain amount every month. And I already had to make a bit of an amount because I had to provide for my family to some extent. But not to like the same extent as I've really got my own rent and I've got my own apartment and like I really have some shit to pay for. So that was the first thing that made me say, I'm not sure this is a good idea. Then the second thing was I ran the numbers and I realized that the difference between a 33k salary and a 38k salary is like £100 a month. And I'd hustled the 3 years. I'm telling you, I did shit that the apprentices should not be doing. I was severe on one of my projects. They wasted in like just one little line item that nobody cared about my whole annual salary. Like I did things that you should be paying me a lot more money to do. And I did it all just to make £100 a month more. And I just like, this shit just isn't fucking worth it. So I was going to take the job, but then I decided not to. And literally I just quit and then decided I'm going to work out how to make some money. And I had no idea how to make money at the time. I just thought I'll work out.
And that's LinkedIn? Were you on LinkedIn already?
That was around the time. So I had that one contract from the guy doing social media marketing. So I had £1,000 a month coming in, and then like a little bit from the close, maybe like another £1,000 ish. But yeah, that was it.
And how does this turn into LinkedIn? Like,
so I do some Instagram stuff, I do some TikTok stuff, I do some paid ads, I do all sorts of different things, and then I think I need a way of selling my LinkedIn service. So I didn't know how to sign clients. Right, this guy just randomly popped up to me one day and said, "Do you want some money for some stuff?" I didn't know how to do that on purpose. So I went down my high street and I knocked on all the doors of the shops. And I just said, does anyone need some TikTok? And one kid had opened a sweet shop I'd never seen before. He needed some TikTok. So he started paying me for it. I went to some networking events. I said to everyone, someone needs some social media stuff. A couple of new people needed it. They paid me some money. Like I tried lots of random shit and I made a lot of random money. And the number I remember, it was roughly like 3,500. That was around when I dropped the clothes thing and I just started doing this. But I never really broke past that. And I can't remember where I got it from. Maybe it was Gary Vee, maybe it was Hormozy, I can't remember. But I just got this idea that the reason I wasn't growing is because I wasn't focused, because I was doing all these things poorly. Like I was doing a bit of cold email, signed a client through that as well. I was getting clients, but it was all coming at random. And so someone told me, I think it was from Hormozy, to just focus on selling one thing to one person and delivering it one way. And so I looked at everything I was doing and I was using LinkedIn to sign clients. I'd got a couple from that too. And I thought of all the things that I'm actually doing here. LinkedIn's the one I enjoy the most. I find it the easiest because I just sit in my room and write content, send messages. It's not that hard. And probably got me the most clients at the time. So I just scrapped everything off and I said that the only thing I'm going to do going forward is LinkedIn. At the time, I was selling TikTok services on LinkedIn. But then even like 6 months after that, I realized the thing I didn't like using TikTok. I just found it kind of like, I don't know, I didn't like getting on camera and shit and performing. I just found it kind of annoying. So the thing I enjoyed the most and the thing that I was best at was LinkedIn. And so I ended up doubling down on that. So to answer your question, I started by doing lots of random shit and I just regularly refine. And darn it's easy even in the business. We kind of still do that today. Like only switched to coaching 6 months ago because I just kept looking at all the LinkedIn stuff I was doing and saying across all these things, what I enjoy the most, where's the least resistance, what's the most profitable. And so I just keep refining.
That's a huge lesson right there. It took me so many years to learn that, and I'm still not good at it. So I admire you for doing that. That's beautiful.
My brain is very like systematic. It's very systems orientated. It's why project management came to me so easily. And yeah, I like the simplicity of it. Like we've got a plan to get to 7 figures. We're smashing the target every month, and it's literally just continue to focus on one person, sell this one thing that we do, and deliver it this one way. And every month, the only things we can do are get a better understanding of that person we're selling to, get better at selling to that person, and get better at delivering our thing to that person. It just makes it super simple what everyone needs to do, and we just repeat again and again and again and again, you know?
Don't you think that this is exactly the type of simplicity that scares people, or maybe just confuses people into thinking that it's just too simple to be working?
I think business is super simple. If there's a lesson I keep learning again and again and again, business is incredibly simple. It's just very hard. And it's easy to confuse the two things. Like what we do to get 30 sales calls a week on LinkedIn is super fucking simple. It's why I write it out in a post again and again. The hard thing is I've been doing it again and again and again and nothing but that for 2 years straight. And the whole time, and I've had a month when it's going badly, there was a point where I was hitting like 17 leads a month. I remember this specifically because I spoke to another guy. He's running an agency that was doing 5 times my prices, but he'd only generated 7 leads that month. And I was hitting 17. I couldn't break 20 basically. And I thought like maybe 20 is just the limit. So I started speaking to some other people about it. And then this guy is charging 5 times my prices, is getting half the leads every month. And so I'm thinking maybe this really is the limit. Like maybe I've reached the top of the game. You can't do more than 17. Don't remember how I broke past it, but then like now we're doing 30 a week, right? Even just before, when like 3 months ago, when we did 60 in a month. I thought that was amazing. So many people, I think, and I was tempted to at that time, think, right, I've done this to the full extent. It can't go any further. It's time to try something new. But I think because over the last 2 years, I've just not done that. I've just stayed doing the same thing over and over and over. I said the reason it's not working is not because the thing doesn't work. The reason it's not working is because I'm not good enough. I just don't have the skills to make it work. I think taking accountability in that way has just meant that now I know, like we're kind of in the same place, right? Like we're killing it right now for lead gen. Our sales conversion hasn't caught up. We're doing more sales than ever, but it's not jumped the same way our leads has jumped. There's this belief in the back of my head that maybe I'm just not good at sales. Maybe you just can't sell that many people. Maybe my sales system doesn't work. But none of that is true. It's just that I suck. Like I don't know how to sell that many people at once. I'm not good at taking 8 calls back to back. My qualification process doesn't work when you've got 30 people booking in a week. I need to get better. And I think if I just keep putting that accountability on myself, it's never the vehicle. There's people that make 8 figures a year on just LinkedIn, on just email, on just ads, whatever it is. It's never the vehicle. It's always me. It's always that I'm not good enough. If I take that accountability, then I can get in the direction I want to go, you know?
It's a very ego crushing deduction that you made over there. It would be for most people.
Yeah, my ego is huge, so I regularly try to just put it back in its place.
But how did you realize you have to do that?
Honestly, you see, when I was first starting this whole like I'm gonna make some money for myself thing, I just always as a kid thought like Will Smith, Kevin Hart, all these people I used to listen to like motivational videos from, Floyd Mayweather, all these greatest people in the world. I just always thought I could do it in something. I thought probably not acting or boxing, but I thought I'm smart enough that in something I can be that great at that thing. And the first like 2 or 3 years just humbled my fucking ass. I still believe I could be that great in something, but it's one thing watching a motivational video of someone saying they were grinding for 10 years. And then it's another thing actually being in it for 2 years and then having to pay rent that month and having someone reliant on me that month and like kind of being on my own in it as well. Like I didn't have anyone else it wasn't like now where I'm working with other people and we can kind of like collaborate together. I was doing this entirely solo in my bedroom. My family are cleaners, dinner ladies, like there's no entrepreneurism around me. So I think it came from the fact that I do have inside me this just deep belief that I can do like incredible things. But I also have felt the reality of like trying to do those for 5 years and the incredible things are starting to come. So I'm starting to believe again even more. And I've got coaches that speak confidence into me. But I've also got the reality that like, I know guys that started LinkedIn, 12 days, they made 10K a month. Now Ratcliffe's agency is just blown past my Shoaib. Like like a natural talent at writing LinkedIn content. Like one of the reasons I went down this route of really focusing on leads, not likes, is because I couldn't do what the people that were getting likes were doing. I didn't get it. Like Lara was banging 1,000. Lara and I started at the same time. Then like 6 months in, she's getting 1,000 likes a post. What the fuck? My account is nowhere near this point. I didn't understand how people were doing it. So now that 5 years has passed, sure, like I've got evidence that I actually could be great at something. But also I have a ton of evidence that I'm not great at loads of things. And there's loads of other people that are way more naturally talented than me. And so I think that's where it came from. The reality of this journey is kind of not like brought me down, but kind of kept my ego in check. I've got plenty of evidence that I'm not as special as I thought I was as a kid. But I've also got plenty of evidence that I could be that special if I keep going at it for long enough.
That's a really balanced perspective, but were you ever close to a point where you felt like your self-esteem is being crushed by circumstances a little bit?
Many times. I'd say less so lately because I think I've really found my rhythm. I've really found something that I'm good at, something that I'm enjoying, something that people want to pay me for, something that people find value in. So I wouldn't say so much lately. It's kind of a part of the reason I'm in Mexico, to be honest. I think if I kept my life in London, just grew this thing to 7 figures, I don't think my life would be that difficult anymore. I've overcome a lot of the challenge. Coming to a new place, don't speak the language, don't know no people, get my own life built again. I find challenge in that. So Mexico is kind of doing that to me again, which I'm enjoying. But most of it's in the early days. Once I have evidence for something, it's much easier to trust it. I know that focusing on one thing, selling to one person and delivering one service is the right thing to do. So like when Harvey jumps in and he's got this potential of like a 5-10K retainer, I just know to say no to it because I've got loads of evidence it's the wrong thing to do. Before you have the evidence, before you're making 3K a month, it's a hard decision to say, I'm going to stop all the things that are making me money and just focus on this one thing that's made me a little bit of money, but not much more than the others, which at the time was LinkedIn. Those moments were very difficult because sometimes the results of the decision don't come for 60 days, 90 days. And yeah, I can think of many moments, like literally crying in my bedroom at 3 a.m, thinking like, I'm not who I thought I was. Like I thought I was this naturally born entrepreneur that could just fucking go and do anything and do the same things I see in these YouTube stories. That first 3 to 4 years showed me that like, I can do it, but like I've got to earn it. I maybe it doesn't come as naturally to me as it does to other people.
No, but everybody has to earn it. I mean, you know it because you're doing it as well. You're creating content. You know that when we create content, it's not a fair assessment of the reality because nobody's telling you all the ups and downs, and because nobody wants to read that. Nobody wants to actually consume that content either. Is it fair to assume that you have an innate need to be challenged? From what you said now, your need to go to Mexico and you get bored easily?
Yeah, it's a good observation. I was literally having that exact conversation and I had that exact revelation yesterday at lunch and like dinner. But yeah, I think I do. I just like, what else am I going to do? In a matter of fact, non-egotistical, just like factual way, I'm 26. I've already built an above average business in terms of revenue. I think by this time I'm 90% confident, and the people that speak confidence into me, that coach me, are 100% confident by this time next year will be a 7-figure business. I think 0.4% of businesses ever make it to 7 figures. I'm 26. We've already got to places that most people never get to. If I just stop here, what the fuck am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like, you know, I don't know what else. I do it. Sometimes I'll have a few months where I'm like, fuck it, I don't need to make any more money. I'm good. When I got to 10K, 18 months, I didn't grow because 10K a month is a lot of money for one individual person as a freelancer. I didn't need more. Every time I tried to grow past that, I just like, is it worth the pain and suffering of going from 10 to 20 when I've already got loads of money and my life is good? And it wasn't for 18 months. But just eventually got to the point of like, it's nice to have built a life that I could only have dreamed of when I was a kid. But that in of itself isn't enough. It's the process of building, I think, that I really enjoy. And I think a lot of people that build businesses enjoy.
Absolutely. It's funny. I heard Alex Hormozy talk about this recently, and he was saying, like, I took a year off and I almost killed myself. I didn't know what to do. I was so bored. I forced myself to take the year off, but I hated it. It was funny.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm Hormozy. I do like a bit of time off. I don't work all the time. But yeah, I think actually it was probably the reason I took 18 months off was because I was trying to take on the wrong challenge, in that I got to 10K a month, and so my goal was just to hit 20, and it was just to make more money. And for me, that was the wrong kind of challenge, because once I've got 10K a month, like, I'm sweet. I don't really need any more shit. Will I occasionally buy something dumb for no reason? Sure. But like, I don't even really need that much. A lot of that, part of that's tax, a lot of that's going to my family. once I'm spending like $5,000 a month, I'm pretty sweet. Like anything else above that, it's just me being dumb, or some months I won't spend it. So just trying to get to 20 didn't make any sense because my life is exceptionally good at 10. It's going to take on more pain and suffering to get to 20. I need more clients, more stress, more problems to solve. But my life doesn't get any better. So I'm just taking on more stress for no particular benefit. So I think for 18 months, I was trying to do that. And just anytime pain came up, I was just like, why the fuck am I doing this shit? Like, I just don't need to be going through this. There's no outcome that I want here. And I think it was some work on myself, a coach I hired, maybe just giving it enough time. I'd been poor all my life. I finally had money. Maybe I just needed to enjoy it for a bit. But I think the thing that switched it was the thing that like gives me purpose. As a kid playing football and being shit at football, but captaining a team because I like leading people, or as a cadet, hating most things in school, but the one thing I really loved was being a cadet and competing with this guy all the way to the top of like a 500-person cadet organization just so I could run the thing. Like, G'ing other people up and pulling competent people together and getting them to do shit. Like, I've always done that naturally throughout my life. I think I forgot that when I was just getting to that first 10K a month stage because a lot of it was solo. But I think flipping that switch, one, I enjoy it. Like, I could get on calls with Dana and Charlie and Harvey and all these people all day. Like, and I can't wait for the team to get bigger. We just hired 2 more people. Like, that shit gives me energy, way more energy than when I was like ghostwriting LinkedIn content. And 2, I'm good at it. Like, I find my flow in it. I enjoy getting better at it. I always say, like, there's 2 ways to get to a goal, right? One is a steep mountain, and it's a fucking struggle with a climb. And the other is like a gently sloping river. And I think the way I was trying to grow past 10K was a steep mountain and a climb. And every time I started climbing it, it's like, fuck this shit. But then what I'm doing now is just like a gentle sloping river down to 7 figures. It's finding competent people and then giving them a space for them to thrive. That's my shit. I can keep doing that for a long time, you know? So I think that's why things are moving so quickly.
Ethan, you mentioned something interesting when you're talking about the pains comparing 10K and 20K. So what is the pain that is driving you to 10K? How do people do it, and how long did it take you to get there?
Yeah, that one's interesting. There's a client I was speaking to about this. The challenge I had up till 10K and I had to change afterwards is I was being driven by pain. So like, I come from, my mum used to give me £20 a week for lunch. Lunch cost like 25 to 30. And I ended up being like a 6'2" adult. I was fucking hungry. Like, I come into school, I wanted food before school, even though I had breakfast at home. Come to break time, 2 hours later, I was hungry. Like, I wanted to eat something. Then lunch, I was hungry. I wanted to eat again. After school, I was hungry. I wanted to eat all the time, and food was expensive. I couldn't afford the amount of food that I wanted. That's where the drive to go to Lidl on a Monday, buy chocolates and sweets and start selling it to people came from. I didn't have the resources I need to do the things I wanted to do. And then like the idea of like having like a Nike tracksuit or trainers and shit, that was just like completely out of the league I was playing in. So I think up to 10K a month, it was pain because one, I literally didn't have enough money to just have the basic quality of life that I wanted to have. 2, my family definitely didn't have it. And to be honest, I probably like overly fed into this, like, oh, I've got to save everyone and I need to make some money and make my family rich and shit, 'cause I saw it on Instagram. So that was probably a part of it too. But yeah, I was just trying to escape the life that I didn't like and move to the place I did. I also probably believed to some extent that the process of going through something difficult would make me a person that I liked more. Like at 17, I was super socially anxious. Like, I was really afraid of people. I was smart and I was tall. Other than those 2 things, like I wasn't working with a lot. Like I think people would be surprised at the person I was at 17. It's been a fucking 9-year grind to be someone who can jump on his camera and talk the way I'm talking and kind of the knowledge I have of myself. It took a long time. And I think the thing that was driving me was the process of getting out the life I wanted, getting away from the life I hated and getting into a life I wanted. The reason I stopped working at 10K is because I wasn't being driven by pain anymore. I didn't have as much pain in my life. There was some, but not enough to suffer all the way to 20K. Building a bigger business and making more money just for the sake of making more money wasn't solving the pain that I had left. I think that's what slowed me down. The reason I mentioned the client is because not everyone's in that position. I just find that entrepreneurs tend to come from 2 places. The vast majority, I'd say like 95% I meet, are escaping pain. There's something about their life they don't like. There's some shit that happened in their childhood, whatever it is. And they're trying to build a business to escape the bad shit that happened to them. Some people, though, aren't like that. Some people just had an exceptional upbringing, really good parents, great education, and they use those skills to build something great. But I find the majority of people come from escaping pain. And to be honest, I'm probably not that good at like coaching and supporting people that aren't coming from that place because I can't relate to the experience so much. I just sat on my laptop all day with Red Bulls, coffees, and if I'm going to be honest, Red Bull coffee and a joint. I would just sit there and just fucking work. Because anytime I closed my laptop, I was poor, I didn't like my life, I hated everything about my existence. What else was there to do but work? So I just sat on my laptop and I went. And so that's my solution, and it's not working. And like, I'm not making any money, and my life isn't the life that I want. I just grinded for ages to get to the place that I wanted to be at. Doesn't work now. Now I'm driven by different things. But that was my 0 to 10K. It was just, I didn't like my life. What else was there to do but try and build a better one?
Yeah, I can relate with what you're describing. Even though I don't come from that place of pain, I'm probably the other 1%.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can relate to the pain currently and the pain that you describe now with the trying to build something and
Everyone perceives pain differently, right? Like when I speak to some entrepreneurs and I hear their pain was 10 times the experiences I had as a kid. I thought my shit was bad, and I meet other people and their shit was way worse. Pain is relative. It's why like rich kids kill themselves, because even though in their world their life is great, there's the way a human experiences pain is just relative to that human. It doesn't matter what the source of pain is. There's some super extreme examples, sure, but like being really rich and then finding it difficult to find purpose in life because there's not a reason to do anything, that is a really big pain for someone that is living in that environment. So I guess I'm not saying it has to be my specific pain of being poor or the parent I had or anything like that. I just think that a lot of people have their own version of that story where there was something about their life they didn't like, and they wanted to change it enough that they built a business.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the relation that you have with your situation itself. That's what creates the pain.
Exactly that.
Yeah, from your story, there's one thing I get. You became really good at one thing. First of all, was creating content for social media, right?
Yeah, that was the first skill, I reckon. Yeah.
Right. So now you're really good at this one thing. You started doing it on Instagram, you did it on TikTok, and now you started doing it on LinkedIn. And it comes the next obstacle, right? So you need clients for yourself. You need to get clients to create content for them. How does that transform into you creating the blueprint?
When I was a project manager, so I used to work for BAE Systems. It sounds fancy. We used to build nuclear submarines for the government. If you're the guy running the show, I'm sure you feel very proud of it. If you're me, you're making spreadsheets and PowerPoints. And I spent 9 months, and I spent that entire 9 months building a mount for an iPad on a submarine. And I spent 9 months grinding on it. And then one day I got to go see this little mount thing that I was fucking building. And it was just this small little piece of plastic, and it took me 9 months. Like at my level, I was not doing anything complicated, but it sounded fancy when I told people. But one of the things they taught me is that a submarine, a single submarine, is like a multi-billion-dollar project. Each submarine costs about $1 billion to build, and each project will have maybe 4 or 5 submarines in it. So it's $5 billion. So you start at the top. Project is build new submarine. What does that mean? That's 5 different submarines. Cool. So we've broken 5 billion down into 1 billion. Then a 1 billion submarine. What is that? 4 phases. We've got the pitch for it phase. Let's get the money. Let's prove we can do it. We've got the design it phase. We've got the build the thing we just designed. And then we've got the make sure the thing we just designed works against the thing that they told us to do. So now this big project is split into 4 phases. What does the pitch it phase look like? What does the design it phase look like? You can keep breaking it down into smaller boxes until you get to my little plastic mount that takes me 9 months. Project management is taking a really, really big goal and then breaking it down to sizable chunks. Building a business is taking a really, really big goal and taking it down to sizable chunks. So step one, pre-Instagram anything, was how do I become this human that isn't like depressed all the time and hates himself? So I started going to the gym, and I was super anxious. So I started like approaching people in the street and trying to start conversations. I started going to parties and like forcing myself to stand there in the corner with a fucking beer in my hand, saying absolutely nothing because I was terrified of people. But I just kept going and going and going until I eventually built some social skills. So like step one was even pre-business. One of the core components of building a seven-figure business is being a competent enough human that I can get about my day to day. So that was step one. Then the Instagram stuff came. So I started building a content creation skill. Then I started building a TikTok skill. Then I started building the LinkedIn, etc., etc. So really, to get from here to the blueprint is I always had in my mind, I want to build a 7-figure business. That's always been the goal. It's just been, what's the next step? What's the next step? Like a reframe for me over the last 6 months. That 18 months where I went from 10 and I didn't grow. The reason I got out of it is because I spoke to another coach, her name's Camila, and she helped me work out what the next step was. Because the thing is, these people building submarines, they've done them many, many times. So they roughly know what steps to follow. They're still super complex projects. They're always late, they're always over budget, they're really, really difficult to deliver. But they have some idea of what to do. First time I built a 7-figure business, I don't know what the steps are. There are many things I did that I probably didn't need to do. And there are many things I tried to do and I did in the wrong way. By hiring her, my kind of personal development journey beyond 10 to like get to this point, a lot of that stuff I just said about like finding alignment and purpose, I didn't know what those words meant before. Like the idea that I'd be purpose driven, which is just fucking wishy washy bullshit that I'd heard on the internet before. And so it's like all this meditation crap. I just didn't associate
I've
it with
been
anything. I thought,
there.
yeah, you know, but then you find the right person to explain it to you, like, oh, that's why people do this shit. That's what purpose is. And then you start to understand it. Getting to the blueprint has been just taking this big project, how to build something to 7 figures, and breaking it down into chunks. The thing that sped it up a lot is getting other people to tell me what the chunks are, because I was guessing wrong, which is why shit took me so long. That's why I think Niall got to 10K in 12 days so quickly, because he came from an agency that was already doing this shit. So he knew what the blocks were. So he could just bang, bang, bang and just implement. That's why I say business isn't complicated. It's just hard. It's super, super simple. It's just difficult, because what you actually need to do is relatively simple. Once you know the steps, it's pretty straightforward. The hard bit is working out what the steps are. That's the shit that takes ages. And my route to finding out quickly is hire a camellia who's dedicated her life to helping people unlock things in themselves. So I can do it in 3 months instead of the 24 years I was struggling on my own. Hire a Josh who's already built a 10 million, already built an 8-figure business, $40 million a year in 3 years. So he knows the steps to go through. And so he just tells me, this is how you hire someone. And all the hires have gone fucking great. The team is amazing. I tried to hire people in the past. It always went awfully. Dana's seen the team now with fucking weapons. We've got amazing people we're working with, because I just got some guy that's literally hired hundreds of people. Austin used to fulfill FTSE 500 recruitment contracts. There were thousands of people at a time. When that guy tells me how to hire, he just fucking knows what to do. So actually, hiring's pretty simple. You just write a job description, put out the job posting, interview the people, give them a 30, 60, 90 training plan, and then make sure they have SOPs and processes in place for them to follow so they know what to do. It's relatively straightforward. If I tried to do that shit on my own, I wouldn't have known it. So it would have taken me ages to work out. And these guys told me in 2 months. And then Charlie joins, and kind of the rest is history,
That's pretty cool. Because actually, for context, the Blueprint is your company, because we didn't mention exactly what it was, and maybe people don't understand. So it's your agency, and it's
Yeah.
funny because what you describe is basically you're looking for someone who already has the blueprint to teach you to go through those steps. So, and that's probably what you're doing as well to your clients, right? Giving them the blueprint.
My a lot of my work is very self-fulfilling. So I see some other guy doing some clothes stuff, and I think, well, if he can do it, I can probably do it. So I start doing some clothes stuff. Then I start making some content on how I'm selling the clothes stuff, because I'm making a bit more money than other people are making. I'm making the content, and then some guy says, do you want to make some more content for me? So I'm like, cool. And then I start this content creation thing. I look at my own content and I see, well, the thing I'm clearly best at is LinkedIn. So why not double down on the LinkedIn thing? Etc. Etc. So yeah, the blueprint is I'm working out the blueprint. Eventually the blueprint isn't going to be a LinkedIn thing. Eventually the blueprint is going to be how do you go from I don't know anything about business to I've built a multi-7-figure company. I can't do that yet because I'm still on the process. But the bit I have cracked is lead gen on LinkedIn. So that's the thing we teach. And then we get to 7 figures. Maybe we get to multi-7 figures. And the thing we've cracked is growing from nothing to multi-7 figures. So that becomes the blueprint. So yeah, I'm feeding back in the shit that I've learned, because I didn't come from corporate in a marketing job. I had no experience coming into this. So the only thing I can sell are the things I've been learning along the way.
Ethan, I'm really curious. How did you go from someone who had no idea what purpose and value alignment meant to actually hiring Camellia? How did that happen?
She sent me a message on LinkedIn asking me for some free shit, basically. She was like, I want you to do my LinkedIn, but I don't want to pay you for it. I want to do some rev share deal. And I always ignored every request for that stuff ever. I never, ever do it, because no one is ever asking that from her. It's never some 8-figure business owner that's seen my thing. He's like, oh, I think we could do something together. It's always someone that ain't got nothing on, always asking me to do shit for them for free, basically. And if it magically works out, then they might pay me a bit of it. So I just never do it. But basically, she kept hammering me. And to be honest, I was going through a really bad time. I was depressed. I wasn't really enjoying my work. I was all over the place. And I ignored her multiple times. Then we booked a call because I thought I could convince her to just pay me the money for it. Ended up missing the call. She chased me up again. I booked in a second call. From outwardly, she was just some random person messaging me on the internet that I was largely ignoring. But as she's taught me, maybe that was some energetic compatibility. I don't know. But she basically kept hammering on the meeting. We got on the meeting, and to put it simply, she was just the first person to tell me about all this wishy-washy stuff, but in a way that made sense. There wasn't just some Instagram dude with his fucking flowy hair out in Bali meditating and some shit. But on the one hand, she was super spiritual, this feminine energy explaining stuff that didn't really make no sense to me. But she's come from Deloitte. She works with super competent and successful entrepreneurs. She sells shit that's up to 100K a year. She's switched on. This is a real person doing real shit. And she's doing it in this purpose-driven, intuitive way. I was like, oh shit, maybe there's something to this, because I've never met a human like this. And yeah, that's literally just how it started. I think sometimes you need evidence in life that something is possible, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll pursue that. That's a lot of what Josh and Brian give me as well on the strategy side. They just give me evidence that the things I want to do are very achievable. And Camelia was the same on that side. She was the first person to explain this like spiritual stuff in a way that made like concrete sense to my logical brain. And yeah, that just started me on the path and learned about it.
And find out where you want to get to, find out the person who's gotten there and a few times, and learn from them.
Yeah, and even if you don't necessarily know where you want to get to, just find competent people to be around. Because I didn't know Camelia's thing existed, right? I didn't understand that world at all. So I wasn't actively looking for it. But then I found someone that was in it, and I was like, oh shit, there might be someone here. So I started pursuing it. So I think just staying open to other people and things people might be doing. Like for me, right? I'm fucking awful at managing my finances. We keep the cash flow sheet like live so everyone can see. I'm fully aware that the team probably looks at it and thinks, what the fuck is this guy doing with the money? Like, I'm not financially switched on. I come from a family that, like, everyone was in credit card debt. I don't know how to manage money. I need to get around people that know how to manage money. That's something I'm actively doing right now. Like, I'm booking calls with people that I know have built wealth. I need to learn what the fuck I'm doing because I just don't know how to do it. And I'm going to do it by speaking to people that have money and just seeing how they manage theirs and seeing what I can pick up for myself.
Absolutely. You're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, exactly. And right now I don't spend a lot of time with people that don't just spend all their money on dumb shit like me. So I need to spend time with some different people.
All right. I know a lot of people listening want to know how to make their LinkedIn work, right?
Cool.
That's what you do. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview of what people should be doing on LinkedIn to start booking clients?
I think I'll give context to that statement. First of all, there's no should. There's loads of people that do their own things their own way. This is just a thought that works for me. I will point out, I think it particularly works well for coaches, consultants, and marketing people, probably because I built it around my own account and things I've been learning. So it doesn't definitely work for everyone. This is just a system that we found that works for us and the kind of client that we work with. I think there'll be value in the principles of what I'm saying. Maybe the tactical execution is slightly different for different niches and ICP. That's kind of why if you read my LinkedIn post and implement it, it will kind of work a bit, but you really need like a one-to-one conversation to make it properly work. But I'll give the overview of how we approach it, and then hopefully it's of some use to people. I built this approach, one, just by doing it. So published over 1,000 pieces of content on my own account, ghostwrote about 2,000 pieces of content for other people. I've coached people through like, I don't know, 3,000 plus. I don't even know that number, like a lot of content. So I've reviewed a lot of content with the orientation of making inbound leads come from it. Same with like looking at people's profiles, sales nav, outreach, etc. I've just put in a lot of reps, and I've also paid a lot of the good people to teach me stuff. So Niles taught me stuff, Shoaib's taught me stuff, Justin Welsh, Matt Barker, Lara Costa's stuff, all the different things that people do. I kind of pulled it in and said, of all this stuff, how do I turn this into a thing that works for me? With the goal being book as many sales calls as possible through LinkedIn. So we break it down to 5 things. These are the 5 components that I found actually make a difference, or we found that make a difference, because it's not just my shit anymore. The whole team's kind of building it out. The first is strategy, which is a clear definition of who is the customer and what's the problem we're solving for them. And then based on that, we can then build the next 4 steps, which are 2, to reflect that on the profile. So let the world know, hey, this is who I help and this is the problem I solve. 3 is to then go on Sales Nav and build a list of those people. We aim for a list of about 5,000 to 10,000 people because it implies it's refined enough. We start automated connection requests to those people. You can send out 100 a week, and we aim for a 30% acceptance rate. The reason we aim for that number is because if I have a list of my ICP and I have a profile that's meant to speak to that ICP, 30% implies that my profile connects well with the person that I want to sell to because they're interested in at least knowing who I am. And then 4, we go on to content and outreach. So we write content that shows I understand your problems and I can help you solve them. So they come to us. And then we also send the messages and have conversations about their problems. So then they also want to book on a sales call that way. So it's a 5-step process: strategy, profile, sales nav, content, and outreach.
Well, I love how you explained it, but let me try to just break down because it might have been too fast for some people. So you find the right people, the right person who you know you can solve their problem because you've done it before. You have the blueprint. Now you start sending connection requests automatically or manually. It doesn't matter in your case, it's automatically to these people. And then you know that your content is already addressing their problems because that's what you're talking about in your content. Then these people see your content, they feel they resonate with what you're saying, and then you reach out to them, right? And you tell them, listen, I can help you.
And can I give you the reason it works? Like it's like I said, that is simple. I'm sure there's loads of people that are doing that. Maybe not the outreach because people don't really like doing that shit. But like, you could just start doing the outreach today. You could go today and send 10 people messages and keep doing that every day. The system isn't hard. Who's the person I'm selling to, and what am I selling? Make sure I've written that on my profile. Go get the people from Sales Nav, write content for them, send them messages. It's not that complicated. The point is, when I'm writing a piece of content, one, I've written over 1,000 for this ICP. Two, I'm on like 30 calls a week when I'm like at my peak with coaching. Now the team does more with coaching. I was on 30 calls a week speaking to them. I'm just asking the question again and again for 2 years. This way I've written this hook, is this exactly what my ICP needs to see? Look at my LinkedIn profile, for example. I say I help founders sign clients through LinkedIn. That seemed like a super simple sentence. That was like my 50th iteration of how to speak to my audience about their problem. Are they founders? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they CEOs? Like, what word do I use to describe the person I want to speak to? Turns out founder is good at speaking to the early stage person that I want to speak to. Might seem obvious now. It isn't the first time you do it. Sign clients through LinkedIn. Loads of people say they help you with personal branding. Loads of people say they help with lead generation. Loads of people say they help you with sales calls. They'll help you sign 3 to 5 clients, etc., etc. There's loads of different ways you could phrase that. But the thing I kept hearing on sales calls was, I want to sign clients. And that's the outcome that I can commit to delivering for the service. So the sentence is super simple. I help founders sign clients through LinkedIn. But like, getting to it wasn't simple. Getting to it was testing one, no one popping up. Testing one, no one popping up. Testing one, no one popping up. Using the word founders, and a couple of people start to pop up. I'm like, oh, let me try founders in my hook. Those posts seem to attract more of the people I want. Maybe I should call them founders. It's that again and again and again. And how do I phrase? I've addressed the pain point in the hook of this post, but how do I phrase this pain point? I've talked about a solution, but am I using words that my ICP actually understand? Am I writing this the way that makes sense to them? Am I just writing this in like marketing phrases and terms that make sense to me but don't speak to them? The process is super simple. The hard bit is you don't know how to speak to the ICP in the profile. You don't know how to communicate the problem you solve because you haven't worked with 1,000 people yet. You have to keep asking again and again and again and again. How do I just make little tweaks to the list, to the outreach, to the content, to get closer and closer to a place where I'm really speaking to my customer? We've gotten good enough at that we're booking 30 sales calls a week. If we get even better at it, we can start booking 50 sales calls a week. It isn't necessarily the size of the audience. My audience is actually the smallest of all the LinkedIn people I know. Laura Costa started the same time as me. She's like 150K or some shit. I don't know. Huge. Shoaib Ahmed started roughly the same time as me. He's, I think, like double my followers. These people all have bigger audiences than me. I haven't been going down the route of trying to build an audience. You don't actually need that big an audience. I've just been asking myself the question again and again. All the shit I'm doing, the content, the outreach, the profile, all of it, is it speaking as best as I possibly can to my customer and the problem I'm solving for them? And by asking myself that question again and again and again for 2 years, we've gotten pretty fucking good at it.
There's two things there. Your audience is not huge, it's not as big as theirs, but it's very relevant. And you've gotten, as you described a bunch of times, you've gotten really good at talking to those people specifically. And Dana and I were talking just before we came live, and one thing that we realized. I mean, this is episode 15. We've had a previous show, so I've done a lot of this, and I know how easy or how hard it is for people to register to these events. And you reposted my event post yesterday, and the traction that you got on that repost with very few impressions is incredible. Like, you got 60 people to register for, well, a few were registered already. Yeah, it's incredible. So it's the relevance and the fact that you actually know how to talk to your people. It's incredible. I've never seen a reaction this big. Like, it means that when you talk, the people who follow you actually listen.
You know, I got it because I met this woman, right? I was doing outreach on LinkedIn. I met this woman and she was getting 4 likes a post. She was doing some finance service. Can't remember what it was, but some finance service founders. She's getting 4 likes a post. So my outreach at the time was, oh, they're not getting likes. They must be bad at LinkedIn. I'll send them a message. They won't be making money and then we'll get them on a call. So I sent her a message like, oh, look, you're really consistent with your content, blah, blah, blah. But you're not getting any likes. Like, I'm assuming there's no leads coming from that because she's getting 4 likes a post. And she's like, no, I've booked 20 sales calls this month. I was like, all right. Sorry, I've had 20 leads this month. I was like, okay, 20 leads, but like connection requests, followers. She's like, no. And she sent me a screenshot of her diary and she had 20 Calendly forms filled out with people that want to spend money. She was booking more meetings in a month than she was getting likes on a post. And I was like, all right, fuck the outreach shit. I need to speak to you for like 15 minutes because what are you doing behind the scenes to make that happen? And the only thing I could deduce is she did not know how to write a hook. She didn't understand how to write a structured LinkedIn post, but she fucking knew how to solve the problem that she solved. She understood finance. If you read that shit, you're like, this woman knows what she's doing. Like, she's the person I need to work with. And then when you fundamentally think about it, say you get like the KPI we kind of set is like 3,000 reach on your LinkedIn posts. The reason we set that is because when you're getting like 3,000 reach a week. The reason we set that is because when you get like 500, 1,000 a week, the content is like so bad that no one is consuming. 3,000 is like, you're a small account, you're pretty brand new, you're getting like 500, maybe 1,000 impressions a post. Some people are starting to read it. 3,000 a week is enough for at least one person who you help to message you. If you're writing to 3,000 people a week and not a single person every week is messaging you and saying, hey, I need some help, you're writing about the wrong shit. Can you hit the numbers that we hit with 3,000? No. I get like 100,000 a week on my account. But if you can't get one lead from 3,000 to 5,000 reach, then you're writing about the wrong stuff. Doubling to 10K ain't going to solve the problem. Doubling to 20 ain't going to solve the problem. To get to like 3,000 to 5,000 reach and start to get some people to message you, because that means you must be sending the connections to the right people. You must be writing the right shit on your profile. Your content must roughly be about the right stuff. And if you're doing outreach, the messages must be roughly good enough to get people booked onto calls. If we can set a base there, then when we go from 5,000 to 10,000, we're actually increasing the amount of money the business is making because this content generates leads. But if you're getting 10,000 reach a week and you're not generating any leads, you're not making any money, increasing your reach is not going to solve your problem anymore because 10,000 is more than enough for one human to say, hey, I need some help.
Full loop. It just came back to the title of the episode, revenue generating activities. That's what you just described. Perfect. So we're running out of time and there's a few questions here in the comment section. All right. So first question is, how do you qualify leads and figure out if they can afford your services?
I'll answer that two ways. First of all, make sure that's the problem to actually be solving. So if you're getting 10 meetings in your diary a week, and then maybe start thinking about qualification, because that's if you're taking 30-minute calls, it's a good 5 hours a week you're spending talking to people. Maybe you want those people to be the right ones. If you're booking like 2 people a week, don't worry about qualification. Just get more people booking them. Assuming that you're like really flooded with leads and your diary is becoming too full to manage, and that's why you are talking about qualification. Bear in mind, I've not even really been thinking about qualification for most of the first 2 years I've been focused on LinkedIn. It's only like the last 3, maybe 4 or 5 months we've actually been trying to not take so many calls with people that we can't help. In that case, the way we did it is we just looked at all the clients we've ever worked with. What were the top 20%? Like who got the best results? Who were the easiest to work with? Who paid us the most money? Who stayed us for the longest, etc. And what requirements did those people fit? Like what industry were they from? What problem did they have? How much money were they making? Those kind of things. And then we just put them on the Calendly form. So the reason the Calendly form says how much revenue you're making in different stages, what problem do you have, link to your LinkedIn profile, it's just so we can check that you fit the requirements of our ICP. Again, I stress, we're at 40,000 a month. That's why we're now focused on qualification, because my diary is so full that I can't take calls with everyone. But I really don't think it's a necessary problem for most people that aren't booking like at least 10 sales calls a week kind of thing.
Wow, I love that, man. Ethan, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe we'll do another one if you're up to. And it was a really, really fun conversation. Very, very informative. I'm sure that people are getting and will get a lot of value out of this. A couple of things, like if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and you can so you can see the next one coming and all of our episodes. If you're watching us on Spotify, same things. We will leave a link as well to join our free community if you want to join us there. It's a place where you can interact with experts in various fields, Dana, myself, and we can help you out with whatever your struggles are. And we will also have some cool things coming up for the future of this podcast, as in a VIP room for asking questions to the guests instead of just the LinkedIn that doesn't work very well, the LinkedIn Live. Again, Ethan, thank you so much, man. This was amazing. Dana.
Cheers, guys. This was a really, really valuable conversation. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us as well in the audience.
Yeah, I hope it was useful. I enjoyed it a lot. So thanks a lot.